In the frozen plains of northeast China, nestled in the quiet town of Harbin, stood one of the most horrific human laboratories the world has ever known, Unit 731. Officially called the Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification Department, this was no ordinary military unit. It was Japan's secret death factory, a place where science was fused with sadism, where doctors became executioners, and where thousands of innocent lives were erased in the name of imperial ambition. Founded in 1935 under the leadership of General Shiro Ishii, Unit 731 was part of the Japanese Kwantung Army. Hidden beneath the veil of medical research, its real mission was far darker: to develop biological weapons and test them on live human beings. These test subjects were mostly Chinese civilians and prisoners of war, but also included Koreans, Mongolians, and even some Russians. All were stripped of their humanity and their names. They were referred to only as maruta, meaning logs, as if they were disposable materials for the fire of war. Over the next decade, up to 3,000 men, women, and children would be subjected to some of the most grotesque experiments imaginable. In underground cells and sterile labs, doctors infected them with plague, cholera, anthrax, and typhus. The victims were forced to endure their symptoms untreated, just so researchers could monitor their suffering in real time. Vivisection without anesthesia was routine. Prisoners were dissected alive so scientists could observe organ failure in action. Others were frozen until their limbs blackened with frostbite, then thawed, only to be refrozen again. Some were locked in pressure chambers until their eyes popped. Pregnant women were raped by guards, then infected to test how diseases affected unborn babies. Children were not spared. Some were used in frostbite experiments, while others were exposed to poison gas. Twins were used in comparative studies, echoing the horrors of Nazi doctor Josef Mengele. The doctors at Unit 731 didn't believe they were killing people. They believed they were advancing science. Their victims were merely numbers, variables, and controls. In total, tens of thousands more died outside the unit when Japan unleashed its biological weapons across China. Fleas infected with bubonic plague were dropped from planes over villages, triggering mini outbreaks designed to study mass infection patterns. Wells were poisoned with cholera. Food was laced with typhoid. What the world now calls bioterrorism, Unit 731 called field testing. As World War II ended in 1945, Unit 731's leaders realized the truth would destroy them. They blew up the facility, executed remaining prisoners, and ordered staff to keep silent. But the Americans already knew, and what happened next was a betrayal of justice. Instead of facing trial for war crimes like their Nazi counterparts, many of the Unit 731 scientists were granted immunity by the United States in exchange for their research. General Ishii and his colleagues handed over thousands of pages of experimental data and in return lived out their lives in peace. Some went on to work in Japanese universities and pharmaceutical companies. Others served in public office. Not a single member of Unit 731 ever spent a day in prison for their crimes. For decades, Japan denied the unit's existence. Victims' families were silenced and documents were destroyed. But slowly, the truth emerged. Whistleblowers spoke out. Survivors told their stories. Historians uncovered buried evidence. And yet, to this day, Unit 731 remains one of the least acknowledged atrocities of World War II, eclipsed by Hiroshima, Nanking, and Auschwitz. The horror of Unit 731 is not just in the acts committed, but in how they were erased, ignored, and even rewarded. It's a chilling reminder that scientific progress without ethics leads to inhumanity, and that truth, when inconvenient, is often the first casualty of war. As you watch this video, know this: the victims of Unit 731 had no trials, no reparations, and no graves, but their story, their truth, must not die with them.